reason to go get another one.
No, that's true. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. My name is Amy Iliescu and I'm here doing my test out videos. Hopefully they are quality checked and that I did well enough to get a passing grade. I have Michelle here. She's my Padawan, one of my besties from our co-training course, and we are adamant we are going to be the first training group that gets all 5 of us that did the comprehensive cohort through. So hopefully you have her and Lacey's videos. Hopefully I'm up next, that's 4, and then we just got Corinne to get through it. So for today, Michelle, thank you so much for being my guinea pig. Just a quick check, any modifications or anything that I should be aware of?
No, all good.
Anything specifically you wanted to get out of today's session or Pilates in general that you want me to be aware of as we go through this?
No, I just want to feel the burn today.
Feel the burn? Well, we're going to keep you on some lighter springs just because it's going to be a long day. So rather than burn out your legs on reformer and your arms, let's keep you going for the rest of the day. And just to check, just because some of these postures aren't good for certain populations, no osteoporosis, pregnancies, other kind of complications that we should be aware of.
No, I better not be pregnant.
It would be one hell of a surprise. So with that said, this is the reformer in case you haven't ever used one before. I know you personally have, but for people who haven't, this is the reformer. So we typically lay down with our back here, our head is on the headrest. These are our shoulder blocks. So we're gonna try not to put too much pressure on them. This big part of the apparatus, we'll be using it a little bit later. It's called the full Cadillac and Towers. It was the original piece of equipment that Joe Pilates put together. So we use Balanced Body here at Club Pilates. So each one of our reformers on this section, this is what we call the well, where we have the foot bar that's adjustable, has 5 springs. Here at this location, we have 2 reds, a blue, a green, and a yellow. Most other locations don't have the yellow. We're fortunate enough that our master instructor said, especially for our demographic, mainly females 50 plus, you can't have a lot of weight on our shoulders. So we have the yellow. So the way that it works is that we have 2 reds, that's considered 1 full spring. Don't ask me weight-wise what pounds it's gonna transition into, because it really doesn't translate, because the longer you stretch out the spring, the heavier it's gonna get. And also we have special populations, as you know, where we have to push the reformer bed in and out, which automatically starts you at a heavier spring. So it's not the same for everybody. But the reds are what they call 1 full spring. We have 2 that are lighter. They're actually a little bit skinnier in diameter than the reds, the blue and the yellow. So the blue is a half spring, so half the weight of a red, and the yellow is a quarter spring, so 1/4 of the red. And then our heaviest spring, our little fat boy, who's a little bit thicker in the coil than the reds, is 1.25. That's our green spring. So we can pretty much customize whatever we want. The other thing to know is that you're gonna notice these 4 buttons up here on the top of that bar. So anytime, let's just say, you were using a blue and a yellow, which is 0.75, and you wanted to go to a red, and the red is 1.0, but the red felt a little bit too heavy. What you can do is put the blue and the yellow on these buttons. So anytime you put a spring on a button, it adds 20% of the weight. So if you're in between springs and you're kind of sensitive, or we're working with clients that are sensitive about the springs and about sensitivities, if they just need a little bit more, you can put it on the button until they're ready for that next full upgrade. So for the foot bar, we typically have it on the 2nd setting. So we are all set to go. It's locked in. Thank you for checking. And when you're ready, we're gonna lay on down. We're gonna put our head down on the headrest. For this part of the reformer exercise, you can have that headrest up or down, whatever feels more comfortable for you. We are starting on 2 reds and a blue, so that's kind of like the basic. Sometimes we'll go lighter, it's actually more challenging. It's counterintuitive to the heavier springs. So for this, what we're gonna start with is that I want you to keep your core engaged. So if you're not really sure what that means, a lot of people just pull their belly button down towards the reformer below them. It doesn't always help. Try to think of yourself as elongating the crown of your head towards the back wall, because naturally your chest gets a little bit proud and that core just automatically engages. Did you feel that? Perfect. Arms are down by your side. Palms can either be pressing into the mat, or if you want a nice neutral shoulder, pinkies on the mat, thumbs up to the ceiling. When you're ready, we're going to flex your knees one at a time to bring your heels onto that black bar. Perfect. So you want those heels abducted slightly wider than your pelvis, so in between the pelvis and the hip distance. That's perfect. We're gonna try to keep those toes pointed up to the ceiling, and are you okay with tactile corrections?
Yes.
Perfect. So when those feet are nice and straight, you just wanna feel as if you are standing on the ground. So you don't have to worry about pointing the toes back to your face. You just want them nice and straight, perfect, just like that. So we're gonna begin to push in and out to start our leg work. What I'd like you to focus on is not cramming your shoulders into the headrest. I want your abdominal engaged. Try to keep that pelvis in neutral at all times. When you're ready, go ahead and take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, use the breath, extend from your knees, straighten out those legs. Beautiful. And then we're going to flex the knees, bring the carriage back in nice and slow. We're going to do that 2 more times. As you exhale, push the carriage out. As you inhale, we're going to flex the knees to pull the carriage in. I think we got 1 more, we count to 3. As we know, Pilates instructors don't know how to count. I'm no different. We're going to flex the knees, bring the carriage back in. Well done. So we're going to do, you can always do variations on here. We're not going to do them today. You can lift one leg into tabletop, push in and out on one leg. You can bring your heels into what they call Pilates V, heels together, toes apart, so you're externally rotated from your hip joint. You can go wide on the bar, and there's 3 foot positions for footwork, heels, arches, or toes. We're not going to do all 3 of them today for obvious reasons, but we are going to do one that's more advanced. So what I would like you to do is extend the knees, push the carriage all the way back out. We're going to do what's called circles. So you're going to be pushing through the right heel. I'd like you to lift the left heel up into tabletop. So you're going to flex the knee, bring the calf just like it is, parallel to the floor and to the ceiling. Toes are going to be plantar flex, so toes are nice and pointed. And then I would like you to extend that toe up to the ceiling. So you're going to fully extend that leg. And then we're going to make little hip circles from that hip joint. So if you can just trace on the ceiling, size of an orange, going in one direction, trying to keep that core engaged, try to keep that pelvis in neutral, trying not to let it rock back towards your chest like it's going to want to, and then we're going to go in the opposite direction. Wonderful. Reach up towards the ceiling one last time. Feel the stretch in the hip flexor, and then we're going to bend that knee, flex it back into tabletop, put it back on the bar, both heels are back on the bar, and then you can bend the knees and bring the carriage all the way back in. Did you do everything on both sides when you guys did?
No.
No, okay, perfect. Well done. So with that, we are going to start with our bridging series to focus on different parts of our body. So you do have your headrest down, but if it was up at this point, we would ask for them to lower their headrest for safety and control. For bridging, same kind of concept as footwork. Heels on, arches on, or toes on. I want you to use whichever is more comfortable. Typically, I do the heels, so heels are just like they are. Arms are extended down by your side. I don't want you to feel any pain and stress in your neck. But what I would like you to do is engage the core, take a nice deep breath in, and then as you exhale, lift those hips straight up to the ceiling, nice and in control. Perfect. You don't need to come any higher than that. Lowering back down, nice and in control. We're going to do that 2 more times. Engage the core. The thoracic spine's coming gently off the carriage. Hips are extended, and then we're going to lower back down. 1 more time in a flat back bridge. Lifting the hips up, nice beautiful line between her knees, her hips, and her shoulders, lowering back down. Wonderful. Take a quick little break there before we move on to the next part of the bridging. So the next part of the bridging, we're going to do what they call knee extensions. So just to properly prepare you, what we're going to do is lift up into that bridge, and then you're going to extend the knee, hence knee extensions. You're going to push through the soles of both feet. What I want you to focus on is keeping the weight equal between both feet as you push apart, and keeping those hips nice and level towards the floor. So don't let one ride up versus the other. So when you're ready, take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, let's lift the hips up. You're going to pause there, and then you're going to fully extend the knees, straighten out those legs as far as is comfortable for you. Beautiful. Feel how those hips dropped halfway? That's normal. We're going to flex the knees to bring the carriage in, and I want you to lift those hips back up to where your full bridge was. Beautiful. We're going to do that 2 more times. You're going to lower the hips slightly as you extend the knees and straighten out, pushing the carriage all the way up. Then to come back in, we're going to flex the knees, lift the hips so that we come back into that one pretty line. 1 more time. We're going to lengthen all the way out. And then we're going to flex the knees, bring the carriage back in, lower the hips all the way back down. Well done. Go ahead and sway the knees side to side if you want a quick little break. We have one more variation of the bridge. It's going to be a single leg bridge. So whichever leg is more comfortable for you, I'd like you to bring one leg into tabletop. So usually your weaker leg. We're going to have the toes pointer flexed towards the spine corrector. Core is nice and engaged. Here as well, we want to fight as we lift our hips up into the bridge to keep nice and level. So you don't want to favor one side or the other. You want to fight with those obliques in the core to keep it level. Take a nice deep breath in, and then as you exhale, go ahead and lift those hips up into a bridge. Lowering back down, nice and in control. We have two more. We're going to lift those hips up. Lowering back down, nice and in control. One more, lifting those hips up, nice control of the pelvis, it's staying in neutral, lowering back down, nice and in control, not too much sway between the left and the right. And go ahead and bring both heels back on the bar. If you want a quick little break, I always like a cross-body stretch. You can go ahead and bring your heels wide on the bar. Let the heels drop to the right. You can let your left hip come up. Your head is gonna look over to the left. Arms can go out by the side, just like we do butterfly at the end of most of our classes. Breathe into that 1 or 2 times. And then we're gonna bring the head and the knees back to neutral. Knees are gonna swing to the other side, letting that right hip ride up if that's comfortable. Head turns towards the right. Well done, coming back to neutral. I'm gonna bend over to change your straps. We're gonna do some arms in straps, supine arms in straps. So let me ask you a question. Normally we do a red and a blue, or a red. So when we use a red, it works your core a little bit more. When we use the red and the blue, it's a little bit heavier. It works the arms a little bit more. Do you have a preference on which one you want to use today?
I've actually never done it with just a red,
Okay.
so I would try it.
Let's try it. So you're on one red spring. Your legs are in tabletop, resting on the bar. That's perfect. When you're ready, we're gonna reach behind you, grab one strap at a time. There are long loops and short loops. So we're gonna put our hands just like you did in the short loops. That's traditionally for the arms. And we're gonna meet in what's called a dead bug position. So I want your core engaged, so I don't want you to feel any pressure in that lower back. You're gonna extend those hands straight up to the ceiling. Palms are gonna be facing down towards your feet, just like they are. You want your wrists, elbows, and shoulders stacked beautifully. You've got the right position. Make sure the core is engaged so we don't put the pressure on the lower back. And one at a time, we're gonna flex the knee, take the foot off the bar to bring those legs into tabletop, just like they are. So calves are nice and parallel to the floor and ceiling, toes are pointed, plantar flexed. And then when you're ready, we're gonna keep that core nice and engaged. We're controlling the movement from the core, keep some stabilization in that scapula, and we're gonna lower and lift, pressing the arms down towards your sides, then lifting back up. Just like before, syncing it with the press. So as you exhale, lower those arms down by your sides. As you inhale, raise the arms back up, lowering back down, lifting back up, and now we're gonna add a modification just to kick it up a notch to an intermediate level. So we're gonna add some flexion with the chest. So as you exhale and you push those arms down to your hips, next time I would like you to lift up your head and your chest off the reformer. Should really feel that in the upper abdominals, lowering back down as you inhale. And then as you exhale, pushing the arms back down, raising the head and the chest, lowering back down. One more for good measure, pushing through the arm straps, lifting the head and the chest, and lowering back down. Good. Feel nice and comfortable?
Yeah.
Perfect. We're gonna put the straps back on the pegs. Nice little mini segments for today, just to make sure I know how to cue things. So we are gonna move on from here to feet in straps. So feet in straps typically is one red and one blue, so I'm gonna put your blue spring back on. So when you're ready, you're gonna reach behind you, picking up one strap at a time. Then the proper way to get into this for safety is you're gonna push halfway out from the reformer just so that you have some slack on the strap. We're gonna bring one of those legs, flexing the knee and the hip, bringing the foot into tabletop, slipping the big strap around the arch of the foot. Press into that strap just slightly so that you have enough room to bring the second foot into tabletop, putting the strap on that second foot. Beautiful. Arms are gonna come back down by your side, palms either pressing into the mat or pinkies on, thumbs to the ceiling, whatever feels better for your body. Remembering to keep the core engaged. Pelvis is in neutral, hips are squared off towards the bar below you. So we're gonna begin by extending the knees. So we're gonna bring those legs straight up to the ceiling. Plantar flexing the toes, so we're gonna point the toes. We're gonna control the movement from the core, keeping the pelvis in neutral. We're gonna do what's called a lower and lift. So keeping those legs nice and straight, I want you to extend from the hip to lower the legs. And then flex the hip to bring those legs back up to the ceiling. 2 more times. As you do that, paying attention to your pelvis, trying to keep it in neutral. So if when you lower the legs, you feel the pelvis tilting towards the bar in front of you, we're going down too far for your personal range of motion, stop before that happens. And when we come up to the 90, if you feel that your pelvis is tilting and you can't control it and keep it in neutral, just don't come up as high. So 1 more. You probably did 4 because I can't count.
That's okay.
Back up to the ceiling. Everyone loves this stuff. So we're gonna lower those legs down to what they call the 45. So imagine your toes pointing to touch the top of the spine corrector on the wall. We're gonna laterally rotate. So we're gonna externally rotate from the hip joints. Our feet are gonna be in what they call a Pilates V. So our heels together, our toes are slightly apart. We're gonna start dorsiflex. So our feet are flexed. We're gonna do what's called beats. So you don't wanna open your feet any wider than your hips. You don't even have to open it that wide. We're gonna do 4 counts with this external rotation with the feet flexed, and then 4 counts with plantar flex so the toes are pointed. So we're gonna begin just tapping the heels in and out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now point the toes, plantar flex, and we're gonna tap 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna go a little bit faster. We're gonna flex 1, 2, 3, 4, and point 2, 3, 4. 1 more flex 2, 3, 4, and point 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. We're gonna go ahead and flex the knees. So we're gonna take some of that tension off the strap. We're gonna put the straps back to where they live. So one at a time, you can take one strap off the foot, hang it back in the headrest, then put the foot on the foot bar for safety. Then you take the other strap off, and then you put the other foot on the foot bar. Should we make you do that on purpose again? I think you got it, it's okay. So now we're going to go ahead and sit up, nice and in control. So some people like to lean on that bar to sit up. Some people like to come into a teaser to swing to the side, like the classical method. And we're actually going to be sitting facing straps. So we're gonna turn around so that our feet are towards that headrest. So you can have your feet fully extended side by side. You can have your ankles crossed over each other, whatever feels better for you. I'm gonna change you back to 1 rep. Because again, it's a long day. We don't need to be overly ambitious. And we're gonna begin with some bicep curls. So we're gonna lift up the straps. You can hold on to the short straps, or you can choke up to the hardware or onto the black tape, depending on how you feel. We're gonna be sitting up nice and tall and straight with the back, just like you are. So your shoulders are stacked over your hips, core is engaged. You're gonna try to keep that line in your back, head is straight, perfect, looking straight in front of you. Both arms are going to extend out in front of you, palms are facing the ceiling. You're gonna try to keep those elbows as high as you can. Well, sharp, no higher than your shoulder height. But you're gonna try to keep them high as you do your biceps curls. That's gonna really challenge the triceps. So when you're ready, we're gonna flex at the elbow to bring those hands towards your shoulders. And then you're gonna lengthen and extend the elbow to straighten those arms back out. We're gonna do 2 more. Bending and extending. The last one, bending and extending. Good job. And for variations, we could do single arm bicep curls to really target the obliques, because when you're only moving one side, it kind of really gets into those sides. You can also do a tilt back onto the angle or a partial roll down to really get into the obliques, but for today, that was perfect. And speaking of the obliques, we're gonna do some roll downs with twists. So I'd like you to flex both knees, legs are out straight, so you can either have your knees flexed with the feet on the headrest or straight out just like you are, or crossed over for those of us that have wider calves and can't quite do that. So to begin, we're gonna have our hands in the short straps, you're gonna have your knuckles together. So you wanna have those hands just like that, the elbows are flexed. We start by sitting up nice and straight, so nice, beautiful flat back you got there. We're gonna start by tucking the pelvis and rolling down 1, 2, 3 vertebrae. So we're gonna hold that roll. Then we're gonna twist using those obliques. So keeping the arms and the shoulders and the elbows just where they are. You're gonna twist towards the right, getting into the oblique, You're gonna untwist, coming back to center. You're gonna twist towards the left. That's beautiful form. Coming back to center. 2 more times on each side, to the right, back to center, to the left, back to center. 1 more on each side, to the right, back to center, to the left, back to center, and we always come out the way that we come in. So you're gonna roll back up, stacking that spine, head comes up last, pelvis back in neutral, and then you can let go of the tension on those arms. Good job. You can actually put the straps back in the pegs. Just for different variations, we could bring out the dowel bar. You could do roll downs up and down with the dowel bar. You could do it with a flat back. That's going to be a shorter range of motion. A lot of people say it's more challenging. So there's a lot of variations that you can do in that series to dial it up or dial it down. So at this point, we're actually going to turn to face the opposite direction. So however is more comfortable for you. Our back and our glutes are going to be up against the shoulder blocks. Legs are bent, sitting up nice and straight. You're going to reach behind you, grabbing 1 strap at a time. Same concept. You can use the long or the short straps, whatever feels better. We're still on that 1 red. We're going to start with something that's called a serve tray. So your elbows are going to be flexed. Your hands are going to be down by your sides. Your palms are going to essentially be facing the ceiling. Back is nice and straight. Pelvis is in neutral. Head is looking straight. No strain on the back of that neck. You're going to take a big inhale, and as you exhale, you're going to extend the elbows and the shoulders, bringing the arms straight up to your shoulder height. Beautiful. And then you're going to flex the elbows and the shoulders to bring the arms down by your sides. You can do it 2 more times, so go ahead and do the extension. You don't have to come up higher than here because that'll put you perfect. Beautiful. Just with your shoulders. Back down. 1 more. Go ahead and extend the elbows and the shoulders. Nice use of your breath. Coming back in. Beautiful. So the second one that we're going to do in this position, a more advanced version, is going to be arm circles. So we're going to start in the same way. Elbows are bent by our sides. We're going to extend the arms out straight in front of you. We're going to bring those arms up towards the ceiling. You can let the palms shift to what's natural. Then you're going to bring the arms out laterally to the side. Bring them back down to your side. Bending, flexing at the elbows, extending the arms out to shoulder height. Then we lift the arms up above our heads, a little bit in the Y shape, laterally bring them to the side, back down by your sides. 1 more in this direction. Extend the arms out straight to shoulder height, lift them up towards the ceiling, and we bring them out to our sides laterally, down by our hips. We're going to do 1 in the other direction. So the arms are now straight down by your sides. Palms are facing that bar. We're going to bring them nice and straight up towards the ceiling laterally. Once they're in that Y, you're going to push them down in front of you and then flex the elbows to bring the arms back down. Arms extend down by your side. We're going to keep the straight arms, lift the arms up laterally to that Y shape above your head. Then push through the straps so that the arms go out in front of you. Then bend the elbows to come back down to your start. Beautiful. Feel okay?
Yeah.
All right, we can go ahead and put those straps back. And then it's time for one of my personal favorites. So I'm going to ask you to gently step off the reformer. We're going to do a little bit of a change. I'm going to slide this box out so you can use it as a step so it's easier to get on and off the reformer. We're going to do something called a short box series. So I always like to have the handlebar closest to the headrest, so that way it doesn't interfere with your legs on this side. So anytime we do short box, we want to have all springs on because you're really going to challenge your core and your obliques when we use this series. And the last thing we want is for you to have an accident, push the reformer out accidentally and pull something. So 2 things that we always have to do. Safety strap must come up, so that's this flat bar. Your feet are going to go underneath there at least 1 at all times. All springs are on. So when you're ready, we're going to come back to the reformer. You're going to be sitting on the reformer facing your foot bar. And I am going to grab something called a dowel. Here it is. So this dowel is a fun torture device, right? So we're going to use the dowel to do some flat back. Some roll backs with rotations. So So the first thing that we're gonna do, you wanna keep your knees flexed at all times. So you don't wanna have them straight and extended. It's gonna put too much strain on the knee joints. So we're gonna put the feet underneath here. And anytime you use the safety strap, you always wanna have your feet dorsiflex, so flex, so toes up to the ceiling. So that way you can yank on that with all your might, go ahead and give it a few tugs so that you know what I mean. You're not going anywhere, right? So that is your safety. Those toes need to be flexed at all times. So we're gonna begin with our arms extended out in front of us at shoulder height, palms are facing down, hands are wide on the outside of those eyelids. Perfect. Your back is nice and straight. Your shoulders are stacked over your hips. You can go ahead and bend those knees a little bit more if you want. So if you feel that there's not enough tension on the strap, just bring the feet out to the side. That will also make sure that your legs are fully engaged at all times, which we don't want to do, but we're going to do it. So we're going to start nice and straight, just like you are. We're going to do our roll down with the twist. So you're going to start by tucking in the pelvis and then gently rolling down halfway till you feel the earthquake shake. And then you're going to keep the dowel bar nice and straight as you twist with your shoulders and your head over to one side, keeping those hips and the pelvis nice and straight, coming back to the center line. Then we're going to twist to the other side. Nice use of your breath, coming back to the center. So as you twist, go ahead and exhale. Inhale as you come back to center. As you exhale, twist. Coming back to center. One more on each side, exhale. Don't give up on that core. Keeping that core engaged is going to protect your back. Back to center, and then you're going to come up, keeping that C curve, and then keep extending as you straighten your back, reaching over the bar, and then you can relax the arms to rest on the bar to give those abdominals a little bit of a break. Feel good?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. I'll take that dowel bar back. We're going to use it a little bit later, so I'm just going to stick it right over here. And we're going to do one of my other personal favorites, because we know that I'm sick in the head, and I like the side overs.
I actually like them too.
Good, perfect.
We share the same sick in the head feeling.
So pick which side you'd like to do. You can face the mirror or face away. So perfect. Outside leg is going to be flexed on the box, or if you had some knee issues, you could have that leg draping over the box. Not a big deal. So outside leg, or top leg I should say, is the one that's going to stay in the safety strap. So you want to straighten out that top leg. The foot is dorsiflex, so regular flex for normal language. And you're going to let that left hip come up off of the box to come into a lean. So you want to have one perfect line from your head to your chest, to your pelvis, out to your knees, and to your feet. You want to bring your arms crossed over your sides. Variations are out to the side, which is a little bit more challenging. You can have them on your head, behind your head, whatever feels better. And so we're going to do our lateral flexion. You're going to lower your shoulders, laterally flexing towards the floor, then coming up just to that midline. Then we're going to go again, lateral flexion towards the floor, coming back towards the midline. One more time, lateral flexion towards the floor, coming back up to the midline. Woo! Good job. Go ahead and put your hand down, come back up to fully seated. Just want to check and make sure. Yep, those are the ones that we wanted. So if you want, you can go ahead and step down just really briefly, just so I can change the box to a long box. We're going to do some what they call prone work. So prone means that we're laying on our stomachs. Then change out your springs. Again, it's a long day. Appreciate all the help. So we're going to be on one red. So when you're ready, one of the best ways to do it, people tend to not know how to get on and feel uncomfortable. So if you put one hand wide on the corners of the box and then simply lift on, you'll be pretty centered. Beautiful. So we want in our bob position, so boobies off the box. So don't squish the girls. Because we still have this foot bar up, I'm going to ask you to bend these knees and cross your ankles, just so that we don't bang into these bars. So we're going to reach down, grabbing one strap with each hand. You can choke up to the hardware or onto the black tape, whatever feels more comfortable. We're going to start pretty much just in this position. Your back is nice and flat, and you're in neutral. Eyes gaze down to the floor. Arms are nice and straight. There's a little bit of tension, but we don't have too much on the springs. When you're ready, you're gonna take a nice big inhale, and as you exhale, you're gonna pull those arms back, down, so you're gonna flex those shoulders towards your hips, letting it come back to neutral, so lowering the arms back down to the starting point as you inhale. As you exhale, you're gonna pull the straps down towards your hips, and then as you inhale, coming back to start. One more, pulling down, coming back to neutral, and just to show an intermediate step, we're gonna add in a little bit of a back extension. So as you exhale and you're pulling those arms down, we're gonna add in a little mini swan, lifting up the head and the thoracic spine, then lowering back down, neutral, in control. Nice job. Let's do one more. Pulling back the straps, lifting up the head and the chest, using that thoracic spine extension, coming back down to neutral. Well done, Michelle. Thank you. And then, my other favorite stuff, you can go ahead and step on down onto the box for safety. We're gonna take this box back out on this side. So we're gonna do 2 exercises where our feet are gonna be on the reformer. Our hands are gonna be on this black bar for safety for all intent purposes. So we're gonna start with something called an elephant. So for the elephant, you can go ahead and start by holding both hands on this black bar, then bringing one foot up at a time onto the reformer. You're gonna try to have your heels back on the shoulder blocks. There you go. So you're gonna try to push the weight into these hips to stack the hips over the ankles. That's beautiful, just like that. So you're gonna try to get a little bit more extension from these shoulders. So try to push out slightly from the bar, just so that you can get the starting point right. So you wanna have those arms straight, shoulders straight, hips straight. So now when we're gonna do the move of the elephant, you're gonna try to keep everything from essentially the pelvis to your hands perfectly still. The movement's coming from this hip joint right here. So essentially you're gonna push back through the heels of the foot, using those lower obliques, and then pulling in through those lower obliques to bring the carriage back. Pushing out 2 or 3 inches. As you can tell, it doesn't have to be a big movement. One more time, pushing out, and then using those low obliques to pull it back in. Woo! Good job. So now the last one that we're going to do here is called a downward stretch. So we're gonna bring those knees down to the carriage. We're gonna shimmy back a little bit so the soles of our feet are on those headrests, toes are tucked in onto the reformer, just like that. So this is almost the reverse. So where before we were keeping everything in your upper body perfectly still, the only thing moving this time is gonna be those shoulders. So we're gonna start by pushing the reformer out just slightly, just so we can find this nice, beautiful bow line between the shoulders, your core, and your hip joint, just like that. So try not to move anything from here down to your knees or to your ankles. You're gonna try to keep those arms nice and straight. They don't have to be locked up. A slight bend is perfect, but you're gonna wanna try to feel the movement just from in here. So just using the shoulder joint, try to push your body out, keeping the shape from your shoulder to your hip perfectly still. Beautiful. And then you bring it back in, push it out. You should feel those abs really engaging, feeling the strain, not the strain, but the movement from the shoulder. Coming back in. One more for good measure. Coming out a few inches. Beautiful. And as you inhale, bring it back in. Good job. If you want, go ahead, sink the hips back over those ankles, drop back into a child's pose, stretching out that core. We're done with it for a little bit. And then when you're ready, we're gonna go ahead and step off the reformer. I'm gonna add this little piece called a jump board. So for the jump board, there's a few adjustments that we need to do. The first thing is I need to take this down to the first rung. The jump board has 2 little wooden plaques. This one is going to go down by the bottom for one stability, and this one lines up right with that footboard. Give some more stability as we're going to use it to jump on and off of it. So people will tell you will either love using the jump board or not love using the jump board. And I fall in the camp of not loving it, but I do appreciate it. I do make myself take a handful of classes a month just to to really understand the value that,
That it gives.
that it gives. I'm gonna leave you on one red spring. So jumping on these jump boards, 2 reds and a blue is really heavy. So sometimes people will say equate it with footwork. It's a little bit too heavy. So 1 red, pretty good. We're not in that moon jumping where it's 1 blue where we're going out super high and back. So we're gonna essentially get into the same position that we started with. That we're gonna be laying down on the reformer. Head is gonna be in the headrest. Headrest is down, perfect. And you're gonna try to keep your feet to the top half of this board at all times. So when you're ready, we're gonna go ahead, lay on back down on this reformer. Head goes into the headrest. Knees are flexed. Feet are gonna be nice and flat. You're gonna have them abducted. Yeah, you don't wanna have the toes above the actual footboard. You can have them a little bit wider if that feels
I
better.
just can't
for
get
you.
my heels flat until I do that.
That's
So.
okay. As long as you know.
Yep.
That's part of it. I mean, do you wanna gear out so that you can start flat?
No, it's
No,
okay.
okay.
I think it's my ankle articulation that just needs some help, but
Probably. So we're gonna keep the core nice and engaged. You're gonna try to keep the pelvis in neutral at all times. Take your gaze up to the ceiling just like it is, palms down on the mat or pinkies on the mat, thumbs up to the ceiling for a nice neutral shoulder. And then we're not gonna jump yet. I just want you to press in and out. So I want you to extend from the knees and the hips and then bend the knees and the hips to bring back in, just so that you get used to the motion and used to the weight, right, on this 1 red spring in connection to the jump board. So you are in parallel. We're gonna do 3 different jumps here. So when you're ready and you wanna push away, heel, arch, toe to come out, and then when you land, toe, arch, heel to come back in. So that way you're not slamming into your lower back. We're not causing any motion. Beautiful. 1 more. And then the next time you push out, we're gonna bring those feet into a Pilates V. So heels are together, toes are 2 or 3 inches apart. You're gonna go ahead, same thing, lift up the heels, arches toes, pushing away. Anytime you come into a Pilates V, try to feel yourself wrapping the back of your legs together, fully extend from that hip joint. Last one, beautiful. And now we're gonna do a 3rd variation where we're essentially gonna come into what they refer to as second position. So feet are gonna be wider on that jump board, toes line up with the outer edges, heels are slightly interior, so you still have that extension in those hip joints. And we're gonna do the same thing 3 times. We're gonna push away, jumping off the board, heel, arch, toe, land, toe, arch, heel. 2 more. And last one. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna go shut off the video now.
Yay.
And hopefully I'm shutting it off, and we didn't just do all this without me remembering to press record.
I'm actually ending the video.
Be back in 2 minutes.